I have everybody. This is Beauty on Bourbon Street, Beast on the Gulf. As the breeze captivates your senses with the spices of fresh jambalaya and your attention turns to the quaint little bed and breakfast in the French Quarter, you have officially arrived to the historical city of New Orleans, Louisiana, also known as NOLA. I would like to inform you about the history, the impact of the catastrophe known as Hurricane Katrina, and my experience with this amazing city. I can only hope your heart grows fonder and hope that I can entice you with such a beautiful city. First, let's discuss the history. Situated on a bend of the Mississippi River 100 miles from its mouth, New Orleans has been the chief city of Louisiana and the Gulf of Mexico's busiest northern port since the early 1700s. New Orleans has been in the face of the Battle of 1812 and the Civil War. It's also been well known for having a high number of people in poverty. According to the Times-Picayune, in 2015, residents earned a median income of $26,819, up just over $1,000 from 2014 when it was $25,806. New Orleans' median income lags behind the rest of the state, where the median income is $45,727. New Orleans is also well known for the Creole culture, from the Creole tongue of residents to the Creole food that can be found at almost every corner throughout the city. Louisiana Creole is a term used to describe people whose ancestry traces to the state of Louisiana prior to the territory being acquired by the U.S. in the Louisiana Purchase. They are also best known for jazz music, which was born in New Orleans in the early 20th century, over 100 years ago. Bands play in the middle of the street as people drink their Louisiana liquor and dance in merriment. But one of the biggest and probably most well-known event that takes place in New Orleans is Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras was created in celebration of a settlement between Mobile, Alabama and New Orleans, Louisiana. It is a time of year where people from all over the world come to have fun and get beads from the many parade shows they have in downtown area and throughout the city. Next, I would like to talk about the catastrophe known as Hurricane Katrina. August 29, 2005 was a devastating day for the city of New Orleans. When I was in New Orleans, I personally talked with a waiter at a restaurant I visited, and he said for him it was one of the most detrimental experiences of his life because of so many health risks from the water being in his home. In fact, when I visited in 2015, 10 years later, they were still trying to recover from this natural disaster. It hit as a Category 3 hurricane and brought winds of up to 140 miles per hour, stretching 400 miles across the state. Louisiana's elevation is below sea level, so when Katrina brought in all of the water, it was expected to leave some flooding, but the damage was far worse than what forecasters anticipated due to the levees breaching. According to CNN News, some levees were overtopped in New Orleans, and there were extensive damages to the Superdome roof, where more than 10,000 people sought shelter from the storm. Unfortunately, they had enough protection to keep the tourist area intact, but the houses in the surrounding areas were completely destroyed, and the residents became desperate in the need of better living conditions. According to FEMA, the total damage for Katrina is estimated at $108 billion. This made, and as of the present moment, makes it the costliest hurricane in U.S. history. Last but certainly not least, I'd like to discuss my personal experience. When I first arrived, I checked into the French Market Inn on Decatur Street in the French Quarter. It was quaint yet a charming hotel with a skylight in the room. My first thought was to take a nap after a long drive from Tampa, but once I stepped out of my car and smelled the aroma of basically every food imaginable amongst the cool, beautiful breeze that wasn't suffocating like the Florida humidity, I immediately went to check in, put my belongings down, and explore. As I walked down Bourbon Street, I noticed there were street performers everywhere. They did things that you could only imagine and would truly only find on Bourbon Street. There were fortune tellers, magic, witchcraft, and voodoo stores like I've never seen before. I spent more time visiting bars and places to shop, and after roaming around Bourbon Street, I finally took a moment to relax at Jackson Square, where I saw horses pulling carriages as if I were in a scene out of the 1800s. As I sat there, taking in my surroundings and being super appreciative of the culture, I began to smell a pleasant scent of seafood coming from the corner of my hotel street and the street I was on. It was coming from a restaurant named the Corner Oyster House. I decided to drop in and enjoy some delicious jambalaya with a side of oysters and mozzarella sticks. I have to say, no one has better cooking than the chefs of New Orleans. Once I was tired and full, I made my way back to my quaint hotel and called it a night so I could be up for the next day of exploring. Overall, I found that NOLA is one of my favorite cities, and I didn't even get the full opportunity to explore the historical parts that makes it unique. I've shared the history, the impact of Hurricane Katrina, and my personal experience in New Orleans, Louisiana. I am forever grateful for the hospitality of the survivors I met, the beauty of the city, and the festiveness of the Louisiana atmosphere.